6:21 in the morning on November 1st, 2020. I had already said that I'm not going to do anything in terms of trying to address the court until after the 10th because I understand that somebody has been consistently attempting to try to get me to do work that other people get credited for, and then when their cases end up going badly, I have to deal with hearing about it, and I'm not acknowledged as their attorney. There seems to be a conflict of interest right here, where somebody, as I understand, used my efforts to file in the district court in Houston, the Southern District of Texas, U.S. District Court, one kind of case, but they opened up some other case under another heading at the same time, and they did not give me information about that. I found out about that later when I was researching my case. I don't know what's happened with that, but I do know that the name of the judge who was assigned that case originally had a conflict of interest with the fact that one of the people that was a named litigant in my original case was somebody who had the same last name. And I've been tracking this for years, and apparently the concern is about the fact that somebody filed a case in connection with, I believe, that lawyer that was a named respondent, and they don't like whatever happened with that case, or there's some peril. This happens frequently. Right now, if I'm correct, then what this pretends to is that there is an appeal before the Texas Supreme Court that has an extension. The original timeline was supposed to be on November 2nd. It was supposed to be a petition for review was supposed to be filed on November 2nd. And they asked for an extension, which will be December 2nd. Here's the problem. If they're piggybacking, or if somebody's doing derivative cases, piggybacking off of my cases, and or the fact that I entered a contract or an agreement to receive services in Texas on November 2nd of 2016, and they've been using that as part of their benchmarking process, then I believe that's absolutely connected to why I am hearing somebody talk about what they're talking about right now. And if I'm correct, it is also connected to a case that is ostensibly from the state of Virginia in the Triangle Dumfries area. The Triangle Dumfries area is literally right outside of Quantico Marine Base. I know. I used to live there. And I think, again, what they're trying to do is draw on something having to do with something that happened between me and another person who was a minor when I was a minor. And I think they're trying to use that as some sort of economic event that's completely inappropriate. And in this case, it has to do with an emergency services provider that was shut down. My concern is that somehow somebody connected to Quantico or the Northern Virginia vicinity, where they think they're entitled to do black ops and use casework to their advantage, and or is connected to or is systems associated with the state of Texas as well, is combining these two cases. And they're using named references that have very significant racial and ethnic implications. And they're also using economic events from my life when I was a minor, and are also using a failure to provide me with rights to due process as a way to create black ops associated with these cases. Now, one of them apparently involves having to deal with matters associated with incorporation and whether or not the county had the right to terminate the incorporation. But that's for the one from Virginia. But the one in Texas is being connected to a proxy where a private insurance company has a claim from an individual policy holder. And the case is invoking a legal code reference that I invoked over 2 years ago to request the Harris County commissioners consider a option for self-insurance instead of bond. And I've already declared myself as eligible and in accordance with delivery on my own self-insurance rather than being obligated to anybody else's bond. So every time this happens, it's on one level for me personally. But the other problem is that because nobody has interceded to stop these people who believe that they have legitimacy as members of the bar association, and or perhaps even politicians that are in the same kind of nexus, that somebody that has a health insurance claim pending in Texas is being wrapped around with somebody addressing a incorporation contestation in another state around provision of emergency services. The problem is this tears to a situation concerning a jurisdiction wherein the kind of emergency services they're talking about in Virginia are actually potentially capable of being applied by volunteer fire departments as opposed to municipally sponsored fire departments. Unfortunately, the place that aided and abetted my kidnapping and is the primary fixed asset and location of the charges in my original petition that's being used and exploited at this time is in an area I was told is one of the counties in the country with the largest volunteer fire department population. If somebody thought that they were going to aid and abet an effort to launder assets connected to municipal fire systems, including potentially the pension benefits to people who are involved in volunteer fire department situations, I'm letting you know I consider that to be a national security threat. They have no reason to be messing with anybody's private health insurance coverage or attempts for legal redress in consideration of grievances they have concerning their insurance. And they also have no right to try to engage a frivolous, not even a frivolous, but a sabotatory process whereby they are proxying a consideration of the jurisdictional reach of one county commissioner in one state for a supplanting of a default on another commissioner's court and commission in another county in another state when it comes to self-bonding as opposed to insurance. That's what this is. So I'm sorry you just got busted. The truth of the matter is they don't even need the 30-day extension. Somebody is messing with somebody in the state of Texas who's a member of the bar, at least one, is aiding and abetting an effort to launder assets, at least connected to that case of somebody trying to get redress for what they consider to be unfair treatment concerning their insurance claim for things that have nothing to do with it. And I'm sorry, you need another lawyer, whoever you are, ma'am, that is addressing these matters with that insurance company. Get another lawyer, because they're trying to bundle on all those other cases they're working on to your claim in the meantime, and it's a national security peril. You understand? This is the only warning I'm going to give you guys. I don't want to hear anything else about this. Why do you have people on a bandwidth where they sound like they're 13 years old? I'm not talking to teenagers. Nobody used the initials in this case. That person's obviously an adult. Are you going through her child? You better cease and desist immediately. It's 6:29 a.m. on November 1st, 2020. The case of concern is in the state of Texas. It requested an extension until December 2nd of 2020, even though the original date for the deadline was for November 2nd. You don't need 30 more days. What you need is you need to get somebody involved in a criminal investigation of what they're doing with this and how it's connected to an ongoing pattern of racketeering that's disabusing the legal process for matters that are national security threats and are doing things that are completely inappropriate. This is possibly a disciplinary problem with members of the bar. This is not the kind of thing you should be allowed to use people's attempts to get some sort of redress for abuses that were committed with their healthcare treatment and or that were leveraging access to emergency services as part of somebody else trying to get political risk insurance.